Starting. Hey, everybody. I'm Alex Randall Kittredge. I'm write the Substack Arc Strategy. I'm here with Corey Blumenfeld, and today we're here to talk about our thesis. Your job already moved overseas. They just haven't told you yet. So it's a pretty controversial topic. Corey, I know you're maybe a part of this a little bit. What do you got?
I mean, it's true. We were talking about this 2 minutes ago, but, everyone's fearing AI. The truth is a lot of jobs are moving overseas, right? Where you're getting access to a global talent pool, loyal, happy, um, just looking for opportunity, looking to show they have skill. They're able to work your hours, right? Um, and they just want that opportunity. It's never been easier to work overseas, right?
Well,
And have that opportunity.
I think too, from the perspective of remote work and the pandemic in 2020, once employers saw that work could be done remotely, it's like, oh, well, if the work can be done remotely, why would we do it remotely from New York when we can do it remotely from,
Mexico?
Mexico or Mumbai or somewhere, a lower cost geography? And it's almost like, folks that don't want to go back to the office or don't want to work in an office, it's like, well, if you're going to work remote, your job's going to go to a different country. Like you should probably go into the office. That's probably a good thing because at least the job can't leave.
That we can talk about that later, but, like, I live in Mexico right now. Like, the pandemic showed me I could work from anywhere, right? And there's a lot of individuals that are willing to take when they were going to the office, they were traveling, they they're willing to reduce their pay because it's a benefit to work from home. It's a benefit to work from a tropical paradise. There's a lot of people going to Bali, a lot of people going to Asia, and just working remote now. It's become common practice. So yeah, we can we that's that would be all off topic right now talking about that, but it's never been easier to work remote. And yeah, I get it. Like, cost is a huge factor of it. But I think in my space, it's about the talent pool that you have access to. There's just really talented and skilled folks that are available in, you know, all the countries around the world. So it's like, why not tap into that if it's normal now?
Well, yeah, no, and I think you touched on something really interesting, especially when it comes to like very highly talented folks. I often write about portfolio careers and I talk about how, the single employer career is a thing of the past. I think that sort of speaks to what you're talking about in a way because, when your job becomes commoditized or when your job is just your role, it can move around, it can go different
Yeah,
places. But like if you're the knowledge worker here, in North America or in Europe, and you're trying to determine like what is your moat. I talk about the career moat. It's like the thing that you do particularly well, the thing that people come to you for, the thing that you're known for in your in your domain or in your area. I guess it's almost like that could be applicable to what you're talking about as well. Like if it doesn't matter where you are geographically, if people know you for what you do and you're very good at it,
exactly.
you can be anywhere in the world.
Make yourself, and I talk about this so you know make yourself irreplaceable. Even though I always say everyone's replaceable, but make it so you offer so much value. It just doesn't make sense to get rid of you, right? Like build the systems, build the process, come with new ideas, focus on outcomes. By doing this, you make yourself a very valuable part of the team. Uh, and I think the really good leaders, the good CEOs, the good management, they want the best, right? So if you're doing this, it doesn't matter where you work now, and a lot of businesses are starting to realize this. It's the right individuals can work from wherever, so it's a perk. If you allow individuals to work from home, work from the beach in Bali, Mexico, then you can attract top tier talent. So yeah, I think that the world is becoming more accepting of this for individuals. The goal needs to be it's not just it's a privilege to work from wherever. Show why you are irreplaceable, why you deserve to be able to work from anywhere. I think it's a you earn the role, right? You have to earn it.
Yeah. And I guess I am always curious how that works, especially like say I'm a solopreneur or I'm a, creator and I'm working by myself, but for clients. And I do some work with like a I think you do virtual assistant or VAs. Like, how
Yeah.
does that work? I guess I always think about it like if someone's in the Philippines or in India, are they like up at 4 in the morning responding to my emails? Or like how does that work?
Yeah, it depends. So, I think that's one of the expectations, right? That you set early on. When you are looking for the right match, it doesn't matter where the person's located. There are specific criteria that you're looking for. And if you're a solopreneur, small business hiring an individual, a lot of times, the founder, the business owner is working directly with these folks. So, what you need to find is, okay, this person's personality type, does it mesh with the person that's going to be managing them? Their communication style, does it mesh with this communication style of the team and the person managing them? And then their work style, does it align with the team? Uh, focusing on that, that's super important. But then the other criteria of like, is this person able to work the hours that we need them to work? There are certain rules, right? That having a schedule is important. So if you are open between, let's say, 9 to 5, yeah, you might need someone to work those hours. But then if it's more just outcomes based, get the work done, the hours don't matter as much. Obviously, sometimes having um, times where you can kind of collaborate and come together
Yeah.
and work, super important. We've done that with my team, and it's been super helpful. We'll jump on a Slack call, a Zoom call, and we'll just work together in silence. So timing does work, but there's other criteria that comes into play as well.
And I guess, I'm always curious and I know you talk about sort of the human in the loop and, you know, I often talk about the career mode and I think we're talking about the same thing, but I would love if you could just explain it to me because I hear human in the loop all the time from different people and I
Yeah.
I never know if we're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah. So, what do you hear when you hear the human in the loop?
I picture it like someone is like, "Oh, I'm the human and I'm using Claude Code and I hit enter to approve what it's doing." Is that the human in the loop or is
Yeah,
that
the human brings the judgment, right? They bring the taste, they bring the soul, the heart. They build the system, they manage the system, right? A lot of these systems, they're good. They do, you know, the y- everything up to the last mile, and then the human comes in and does the last mile, right? Because you still need
Mm,
the individual to check it, to make the ultimate decision. In hiring, for example, you can't legally use AI to hire you. You can use it to do some analysis to speed up some of the process, but it can't make the decision. You need the human to come in there and do that. I think it's the same if you look at other industries like I don't know, healthcare. There's AI tools for that. You still need a
yeah.
human to come in and make the decision. Then in my space, if someone is doing social media, a lot of these systems and what I'm finding recently, across Substack, across LinkedIn, all these platforms, they're starting to detect AI. So
Oh,
you need
yeah.
you need the human to come in there and figure out how to make this, more human, like written by a human. So yeah, the human in the loop is the individual that comes in and I would say is kind of the orchestrator, the one
Mm.
managing the entire process, checking things. Uh, so yeah, I think we're on the same page with what the human in the loop is.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And I think but if I guess, yeah, I always come back to this, like, but if the client work that you're doing becomes premium, it's almost like the actual yeah, I guess we're saying the same thing. The work is what the computer does or the AI does, like the actual deck or the product. What is the more human thing is the judgment call and almost
Yeah.
having the conversation with the client, maybe explaining it to them. Um, what do you think? I guess it's kind of funny because we're talking about 2 things, like, right? We're talking about the jobs moving and the people who do the jobs being in different places, but then now we have AI where AI is doing the actual work.
Yeah. Well, you can look at there's an example of Klarna. They laid off, I don't know, hundreds of folks saying they were going to replace these jobs with AI. The CEO backtracked on that. They found that they couldn't. replace the human judgment, and so they had to rehire folks. So, I think there's different types of outsourcing, right? Outsourcing to AI, outsourcing to humans. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this, right? What is something that needs to be outsourced to AI versus to a human? When I think of what can be outsourced to AI, I think of repetitive tasks. It's the same thing,
Mm,
copying and pasting, scraping, right? Um, Reporting. You think of these repetitive tasks. Humans don't wanna be doing that. They get bored of it, and I think, this when a human is doing work, there needs to be a sense of purpose. There needs to be a sense of value being created. They want fulfillment. They wanna be doing multiple things, and then when you think about, well, what can a human, be doing? Based on what you were saying before, have you had an experience in the last week with a chatbot where you like talking to the chat, you're thinking of buying a product or you're talking to customer service? I can't stand talking to chatbots. Like sometimes they can answer my questions, very basic questions, but if I'm having an issue, I want to talk to a human, right?
yeah. No, it's funny you say that because I had that recently. I had something with American Express, and I find credit card companies do this a lot where you're like trying to get something done and you're like, I know the chatbot can't do this. Like, I want to talk to a human because I know the chatbot is not able to do this. You're like, have to like click through a little bit to try and like override its logic and like get to the
Yeah.
human.
Well, okay, so collecting the email, sure. Have it the chatbot do it. The name, the initial issue, filing the ticket, I get it, it makes sense. Why do you need a human to do that? That's kind of, you know, um, very basic, boring work. But then, dealing with if I'm having a bad day or I'm really frustrated with the product, I wanna feel like I'm talking to a human. Maybe, at some point they figure out how to solve this with AI, but I think at the end of the day, what humans wanna know is they wanna know they're talking to a human, right? So I don't think companies can just lie to folks in the future and say, "Hey, you're talking to a human, but it's actually an AI."
Well, it's so interesting you say that because now whenever I interact with like a company and they actually have a human, like I'm actually talking to a human and they're very good at the customer service or they're very good at what they do and they're being
Mm,
empathetic and they're like trying to understand what my viewpoint, I always like note that in my mind. I'm like, oh, wow, this is a great company. Like I'll probably work with them again. Or if I had a
mm.
choice between this and another one, like I'm going to go with the company that like has a human answering because I find that like, I don't know, it's almost like a bonus.
Yeah, no, like, and this is where I feel like the human experience becomes the premium tier, right?
Mm,
Everyone knows that the reason why people are implementing or businesses are implementing a lot of these tools is to reduce costs, right?
yeah.
We all know, whether you're outsourcing, um, you're onshoring or outsourcing, it's still more expensive than the AI bot that you're speaking to. And so when you're speaking to an AI, you know just the cheap service you're getting. They're trying to reduce costs. They're trying to just automate this process and just get you like whatever you need really quickly. But when you're talking to a human, they're paying for that. They're paying more, and I think you're gonna start seeing more companies just spending more resources providing you with an exceptional service. And then going back to
Mm,
outsourcing, there are really, really good folks just across the globe that are good at being empathetic, at being human, that we have access to now. And so, it's a perfect role to outsource, whether it's onshore or offshore.
yeah, no, that's so interesting. I think, and it comes back to this idea. I always think about it and I read about it a lot, like the token cost. And you hear about these companies, I like these companies nowadays that are like,
Yeah,
they like, maybe it's Klarna, but probably not Klarna. They replaced their employees with AI, but now their token bill is like
yeah.
$500 million a month. And it's like, oh, wow, we didn't pay our employees $500 million a month. We should probably hire them back because the AI is more expensive.
I wrote about this week, right? If you look at the industry as a whole, it's been discounted by investors. So, and this happens in a lot of industries. You reduce the cost to bring on users. At the end of the day, it's the consumer that's going to have to make this up because the investors will want to regain their money at some point. They need to, and the valuations. that have been put on these companies, right? It's that $200 a month subscription isn't just cutting it, right? So, I get AI does have its benefits, but the cost, the over time may decrease in certain aspects, but it also will increase because they have to they have to regain enough profit for these valuations to make sense in the long term.
Well, I also read a thing, I think it was in the FT or maybe it was Harvard Business Review recently, that companies that are early adopters of AI that actually use AI a lot are hiring more entry level people. So they have this thing, and I think it's interesting. Like the Apollo economist Torsten Slok, I wrote about this a few months ago. He had something on the Jevons
Yeah,
paradox, and like basically making the work cheaper or making the work more readily available drives more demand for the work. So you have these AI tools, and now you're building dashboards for things you didn't used to have dashboards for. And you need
yeah.
someone to like run that or evaluate that. And it just creates more work. And I think anyone who is a knowledge worker who uses AI in their work, like I do more work now and I'm more exhausted at the end of the day than when I wasn't using AI. It's like you get so much more done, but you're like,
Yeah,
it's like just the volume of things.
you can do way more. It's so true, right? There will be new rules that we don't even think about now just because of the amount of work we can do in a single day. Still needs to be organized, still needs to be managed. That's because we can do more, it doesn't mean that, it takes less people to manage it. Well, the classic example I've always heard, right, when there's a big change in an industry is like, yeah, you've been to the bank, right?
The bank?
And yeah, you've been to the bank.
I've been to a bank once or
Okay.
twice. Yeah.
Okay. When the ATM came out before we were probably born, um, they said, "Okay, the bank tellers, oh no, there's gonna be like it's gonna replace the bank teller." There are more bank tellers than there were back in the day, right? So, y
Well, it's funny. I was actually at the bank the other day and I was talking to someone, and my grandmother, she passed away in 2020, but she was obviously, quite elderly, and she never had a debit card or an ATM card. She went into the teller and she spoke to the teller, and I don't know what they did without that. I guess she had to sign something and like or show her license, but like she didn't trust it. She's like, "Oh, I don't want that. Like I want to talk to a human." And like that's a very different, like, because I think everyone nowadays trusts ATMs, but, like, that's kinda like what people are doing with AI a little bit.
Yeah, look, I think you think about more people have access to information. So there will be people that choose the automated approach. They choose to, an example, I was talking to a friend about this a couple days ago, and he's using Claude um, as kind of like a therapist in a way.
Oh, that's
Eh,
dangerous. I hear that's dangerous.
Maybe it's the but for him, it's more of a sounding board. Someone he can talk to. It's
Mm,
not diagnosing and anything. There will be people that feel comfortable with that, and maybe we'll help them build trust, and then go and speak to someone, right? So there are going to be different use cases, right? Some people may want to use the AI; they feel more comfortable, and then over time, they get more comfortable speaking to the human. But the truth is, like, there are going to be industries that are just heavily, you know, customer service based. I think of the doctor, I think of the therapist, I think of the lawyer, like, customer service, like, that human experience will define what makes a good firm, what makes a good practice, right? And people will start needing to invest in this versus, before it was all about efficiency with the technology. It's gonna
mm.
come what's that experience that you're providing me, right? How are you investing in your people? Um, we'll be able to get more work done. We'll be able to get more capacity because there's more work. We may need to outsource, but at the end, it really will be experience that drives it. Because if it's not experience, then you can just delegate that to AI.
Well, I'm curious from what you do, and some of the clients that you have, what do folks typically do once they get rid of their busy work? Like I've seen it before. I do some transformation work. I've been in companies before where people's entire job was just busy work, and like then you tried to automate it or you tried to make it go away, and they like resisted because they're like, no, but all I do is the busy work. If you take the busy work away, there's no job here. Like obviously your
Yeah,
clients aren't like that, but I always get thinking about that.
yeah. It depends on the persona, right? If you're talking about a small business owner, if you're talking about solopreneur, that's more time to focus on growing the business, so you get more capacity to take on more clients, to build
Mm.
more relationships, right? That's what I see it going back to. You can scale it further. It's not just you that has to do all the work. Um, and I think most of the time it's capacity, and then you choose what you spend that capacity on. Do you want a life outside of the business, right? And I'd say that's more for the solopreneur and small business owner. For large businesses, that's not my expertise, but, the fact is you can get more done, more capacity, um, when 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 you are outsourcing in terms of the time that they get back. I think, in most cases, it's using it towards more clients, serving more.
Well, it's interesting. I recently met with my accountant, and I was advised to move my books from the Excel spreadsheet that I was using to QuickBooks, and so I
Okay.
did. I moved it to QuickBooks,
It's
and
a fun experience. I've done
yeah, it
this
was
before.
great, it was great. I was doing QuickBooks, and then I guess I clicked on something that was, like, AI related, and so someone from QuickBooks contacted me, and they're like, "Hey, I'm a UX researcher at QuickBooks, like, I saw you made an automation, like, can we talk to you? Can we hear, like, what you thought about our platform?" And basically, like, the long and short of it is QuickBooks AI is pretty bad right now, but the I was, like, telling him, I'm like, "I can't wait for you to get better. I can't wait for the day where I don't have to do bookkeeping anymore. Like, the AI
Yeah.
can just take the bookkeeping. Like, I don't wanna do that." And I think that's similar to what you're talking about.
But you could, not all there is a QuickBooks MCP. For some reason, I can't connect to it, but,
It's
what that's all this information's available to us, and I think that's one of the coolest. Like, you can upskill super fast. So I learned how to connect the APIs to the QuickBooks API. I learned how to connect to the Stripe API and to the Wise API, and now I have kind of like a virtual CFO that can give me all this information. Right? It's not perfect. I gave my accountant a heart attack because he asked me to do some bookkeeping for him, and I'm like, I don't have time to do this, and I don't know exactly what to do here. But I was able to put it into Claude. I got him to provide me the instruction of what he was looking for, and yeah, again, it's like I think it's the last mile right now. It's like that's really where the
Mm.
focus is on. It can only do so much. I sent him the spreadsheets. I outsourced it to AI, and he was like, "What's going on here? There's still so much more work for me to do." I'm like, "Yeah, but at least we got a lot of it done, right? Like 90% of it's done." So it was cool. Then I needed to outsource it to him to figure out the rest.
Well, I had a funny thing. I was trying to do something. I had to submit a tax form. I wrote an essay about this a while ago, and I had to convert my company to an S corp. And I used Claude to like tell me how to do it. And Claude like gave me great instructions. It was like send your form here. I sent the form to that address. Claude like hallucinated the address. So they like didn't get the form. I like had to do it again. It was like such a big pain. It was like a really bad thing. Like I missed a deadline. Like it was not good. But it was like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't just listen to Claude and like take whatever he said they say.
Well, yeah, and this is what with my team and stuff, and it's something I try to explain to people. Just because Claude told you something, at the end, this is where the human judgment comes along. It's not perfect, and this is where is a good example of where does the human fit into this, right? It can only do so much, and I wrote about it last week. If Claude makes a mistake, it's still on you. If ChatGPT makes a mistake, it's still on you to check this to know your facts. So you know it's interesting because 'cause I've been saying the gap between expertise and, you know, it has been shrinking, so, like, you can be more entry level and you can catch up faster, but the value of having that if let's say you had that expertise to fill out this form or, like, this was what you did every single day, think about how much quicker the process would have been,
Mm.
but it just gave you more to do, like, you have to go and read all this stuff that you don't know, and you made the mistake still, you probably still needed someone to look it over for you.
Yeah,
Probably needed to outsource that or something, I don't know.
in the end, I just asked my accountant, I'm like, please do this form for me. I will pay you however much you want. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't want to do this anymore. I literally can't do it. I've done it 3 times. It's not worked once.
And look how much time, right?
You
Like,
need the human in the loop.
you need the human in the loop. You need to outsource it, right? To someone. I think that and when I'm using a lot of these tools, what I do is I kinda, like, take a step backwards right? I don't get it to just do the work. I first focus on understanding how to do the work. I understand, like, I ask it to fact check, I ask it to look at the legislation or kind of like the legal documents out there. If it's something related to like accounting or HR, I start kind of like understanding the problem before getting it to do the work. With my accountant, because I've outsourced it to an accountant, I let him figure it out for me. I just said, Claude, do whatever he's asking, and hopefully this is making his life easy. But if I'm doing something for the business and I'm owning it, I usually start with just trying to understand and getting the information first before I actually jump into the work.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think about this sometimes. I wrote a piece about like the cost of competence and when competence becomes cheaper, the floor shrinks, things change. But I think with AI at least, and with what you're talking about, I almost think mid-career professionals or folks that are like in the middle of their careers are going to stand to benefit the most because people who are entry level don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
And people that are really senior probably aren't using AI. I'm just going to say that. And,
but
people in the middle are like, oh, they know how to use AI, but they also know a thing or two. And once you know a thing or two, you can say, like, oh, hey, Claude, can you like do an FP&A analysis of this spreadsheet? And like, someone who's entry level is like, FP and what? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that is. But it's like, if you know what you know, and then you have Claude like do it for you, or you tell Claude, like I've told Claude before different things like act like you're this or act like you're that. You have to know what those things do before you can tell Claude to act like that.
exactly, exactly. Like this is why, even in outsourcing, right? Individuals with that skill that you can find where all over the world, you can find them onshore, offshore, um, by learning these tools. And I'm really, for my team personally, I'm really pushing for them to be self learners, how to use these tools because they may have that expertise, but the individual with that expertise and some of these tools is going to move so much faster and be able to produce so much more. Um, and I wrote a piece about this. It's like everyone's expectation of time to finish is greatly um, decreasing. Everyone thinks things take way less time now. It depends on the
Mm.
task, but I'm really making a conscious effort to push the team that I work with, the individuals that we bring on to our talent pool to be AI readied. Like they need to really understand this because it's really it's shifting the whole game right now, for outsourcing. If you don't know these tools or you're not willing to invest in them, it's like people expect it now.
And so I guess, we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, and I talk about, building a durable career for knowledge workers, in the post AI economy. You talk about, virtual work or moving work to different places. What do you see as things that can never be outsourced or things that can never move offshore or I guess that, but also what is moving offshore at the quickest pace these days?
What cannot be like, the truth is, I think a lot of operations, um, client success, customer service, um, but the truth is, I think anything can. Everyone's trying to build a global business, especially in the tech industry. Everyone's working towards globalizing their company. So I'd say, if we're looking at tech or big business or anyone that's trying to create something that's scalable, pretty much the entire business can be offshored. Like that's the truth. I'm trying to think about what you can't, and I'd say, well, you're a doctor, but that's not what we're talking about here, right?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
you're a
The
lawyer
person
who
that the person
understands
that
the
the,
legal
the person
system.
that takes your blood when you go to the doctor's office, that can't be offshore.
Yeah, but I think when it comes down to like pure business, it's just time after time. Even if you look at like manufacturing back in the day, a lot of it left the U.S. and it went to all these other countries. So I think most of what's done could be offshored, um, but it doesn't need to. It's just figuring out how to be efficient, right, and finding ways to increase capacity with for the folks that are onshore.
Well, it's interesting because I wrote a piece recently about this. Basically, the title was Your Job Already Moved to India. They just haven't told you yet. And part of the the argument was like, you look at companies like in the tech sector, like IBM or Microsoft or, I can't remember the third one, but basically these companies, they're US companies and they're reducing their headcount in the US and hiring headcount in, say, India or, another English speaking country that has a lower price point. And it's interesting because I think like IBM, I'm based here in New York. IBM cut something like 9,000 jobs in Armonk, New York, and hired like 20,000 people in India. And you're like, well, IBM is an American business. It's kind of like one of the original American businesses from the turn of the century. And at what point are we just going to have like a few executives that like sit in America and like the rest of the workforce is like outside of the country? I don't know. Like, that's obviously like an extreme argument, but it seems like it's going in that direction.
Yeah, to be honest, this is beyond me, right? Like, this is a political question. I think, like, of how you solve this, right, for these businesses, because the truth is they're public companies. They have to focus on how to create shareholder value. Um, but, how do you increase the education? Like, there are such highly skilled workers in these other countries. That's why wouldn't you tap into them? I think that's the first way to look at it, right? It's not just about cost. The skill level is extremely high in these countries. So, the goal for a lot of these businesses is to attract top talent.
Mm.
Yeah, secondary, yes, they have to look at costs. Um, but I think then it comes down, like, how do you tax incentives,
Well,
credits, right,
well,
for these businesses?
there's a really interesting book that was written in the late 90s called The Sovereign Individual. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's basically like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk's, it's their favorite book. Every tech founder in Silicon Valley loves this book because it basically talks about like with technology and with the internet, countries and governments like are no longer really uh, needed. And you have these superhuman people that are like technologically advanced and like own their own company and they compete on the global stage and they can move around wherever they want. It's a really interesting argument, but I think like it's kind of true in the sense that, nowadays we see people that have, near $1 trillion and they can just go wherever they want. It's like you're competing on a global stage. So like if you're not the best at what you do, it doesn't matter if you sit in New York, Mexico, or India, you have
Yeah,
to be the best because
yeah,
the money or the job is going to go to whoever is the best at what they do.
yeah, and this is why, like, going back to what I was saying about the entry level and the individual with expertise, it is demonstrating that you're the best. It's about going above and beyond. It's showing why you're not replaceable. I think, you know, these big businesses like IBM, like yours, they want top tier talent. They're going to
Mm,
find top tier talent. You know, if the best computer scientist lives in, California, that's who they're gonna wanna work with. There will be competition for the best. I think, when you're looking at some of the jobs that are being outsourced, it's kinda just like, the entry level folks, the middle tier, and yeah, they're gonna find the best talent wherever it is. I don't have the stats here on for but, when I'm hiring, I'm looking for the best talent. When I was running my tech businesses, um, before I got into the outsourcing space, we always looked for the best. You targeted the best. That's who you were going to chase. It's the people that are the best at what they do. So yeah, I think that as long as you keep demonstrating the urge to be better, you're g- building your craft. There will be an opportunity for you. It doesn't matter where you're located. I think that goes, if you're in another country. If you are demonstrating that you are the best, that you're gonna go above and beyond, some business is gonna wanna work with you. Why shouldn't they be allowed to work with you?
yeah. No, I think that's a great point to end on. That's like, the thesis of this conversation. It's like you have to be the best at what you do. It doesn't matter where you sit. And, the world has become more competitive. Yeah, I guess, saying it out loud, it's like you have to continuously invest in yourself. You have to be hyper educated. You have to continuously learn, improve, get better, and just be excellent because
Yeah.
the opportunity goes to whoever is the most qualified. And it doesn't matter, what passport you have or what geographic location you're in.
Exactly, right? Like, and I think that's, what you said, it's beautiful, right? Because at the end of the day, we are creating more opportunity for
Mm,
everyone across the globe. Um, the cost of living is different in different countries, right? Pay is different because of that. Over time, you might see that change as we start this becomes a regular practice, but right now, it's a new thing. We'll grow, we'll get better at it. Things will, I hope, become more fair for folks. But yeah, it's if you're the best at what you're doing, or if you're constantly trying to be the best, there should be opportunity for you. I think, that mindset of, well, I live in this country, I deserve this job, that doesn't hold anymore because there's someone
mm.
out there that's going to be putting in more effort. They're going to be learning, they're going to get better, they're going to be growing. They deserve equal opportunity as well.
Drops mic. Well, thanks, Corey. This has been great. I think, we started our conversation talking a little bit more pessimistically, but I think you've convinced me. It's like, it's definitely more of an optimistic story. And I think the quicker we get folks aligned on that or get folks up to speed, the better it'll be for everyone.
Yeah, I think so too. I think talent will also improve, right? Because there'll be more competition. When there is more competition for a role, you start to see like an improvement in everything. Y- the reason why in the US we want competition is that's when products get better. That's
Hmm.
when things get better. So if we are creating a competitive environment, things should get better in theory.
Actually, and it's interesting you say that because there's a great Substacker called Matt Stoller. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he writes about monopolies, and his whole thing is like when you have monopolies and there's no competition, it's bad for everyone. It's not
Yeah.
just bad for the consumer; it's like bad for the economy. It's bad for innovation. Everyone gets stagnant when there's a monopoly, and like that's why monopolies are bad. And I don't know if you haven't seen Matt Stoller, I subscribe to him. I'm a paying subscriber, but I think like that it's kind of that same argument. Like you need more competition and you need to like not become complacent.
Yeah. And I think for far too long we became complacent. And then COVID happened and all of a sudden you could work from anywhere, but you could
Mm.
also find people from anywhere and it just became common practice. And that's great, right? Because I think that it just allows people to one, it's like now I'm learning from people from all over the world. Like it just I'm getting better because of it. So I my assumption is, and I don't have the data to back this up, it's like everyone has an opportunity to get better. So yeah, I think it makes total sense. It's like before there was a monopoly, now there's open competition, and businesses can get better because of it. Individuals can get better because of it. There's more opportunity. It's a beautiful thing.
And on that, I think we've come we've come to the end of our Substack live. But again, thanks. I'm Alex Randall Kittredge. I write the Substack Arc Strategy. I help, you know, folks build a durable career in the post AI economy. I was joined by Corey Blumenfeld. Corey,
Yeah, I'm on Substack, LinkedIn. You can find me. I write an article taking my time back, active on LinkedIn. Also, you can find me on my website, bluemosa.com. But it was great chatting with you, Alex. Really enjoyed this, and it's something I do every single day. So it's always fun to vibe on it and just have a natural conversation. And yeah, thank you. I end every call with a fist bump. So boom.
boom. Have a good night. Happy
Take
Sunday,
care.
everybody.
Happy Sunday.